So yeah, today was a trying day, not because of any particular reason. It was because I had a very traumatic meltdown. Like, all I can describe it as a PSTD moment from hell. A flashback, like a really intense, awful flashback. But it dawned on me today why there's so many homeless people, mentally ill people, people in institutions. The number one reason is trauma. Some people are incapable of releasing the trauma and moving on with their life. Some people lack the tools and stuff needed to do that. Some people are. It's just a very slow process, but yes, a lot of things came flooding back. I think she was the first grade teacher at the time. She later became the second grade teacher, Miss Gaffman. I can remember being in kindergarten and me walking up on her and her and her talk about me and rake me over the coals and talk about how she couldn't stand me. I just can't stand that little girl. She's a troublemaker, and she was just raking me over the coals. And of course, I had a meltdown of all meltdown. She never apologized for what she said. She apologized that I heard her, but she meant every word of it. I later had her as a teacher, and she's the only grade I ever failed. That teacher hated me with a passion from the day that she met me. And I can just remember all the trauma. Miss Montgomery and Miss Craighead and Miss Tuck and Miss Rita and Mr. Kershaw and Miss Maxie and Miss Whitehead. And school was so trauma induced. And being told that I was a bad girl, being told that I was a troublemaker, being told, all of this negative stuff over and over and over again, and being told that I would be, respected and treated right and accepted by, my peers and teachers if I just behaved myself, which at the time I lacked the capacity to do that. Yeah. And it never dawned on them, or they didn't care. But all of that came flooding back, and being shut up in that storage room, which is today child abuse, but back then it wasn't. It was a huge storage room, and it was mostly like 80% dark, and it had one little tiny window where the sun came in, and just being shut up in there all day long. And if I dared to cry or anything, I was just basically told, well, if you would be good, then you could come out and join the rest of the good little girls and boys and all of that. And I, even if I was let out to use the bathroom or get my tray, which most of the time I wasn't even allowed out to get my tray. They would bring it to me. I wasn't allowed to speak to anybody or talk to anybody. I wasn't allowed eye contact because they would be told, don't talk to her. She's on punishment. She's been bad. She misbehaved. And how lonely that was, and how terrifying that was, and how even at that age, anger-inducing that was, because I had a little bit of a temper even way back then. But I had no peace at home, at school, at church, at the babysitters. There was nowhere that I had peace. Nowhere. I was constantly getting, if not verbally abused, physically abused, or financially abused, or sexually abused everywhere I went. So that became a part of me, of who I am, even to this day. It sticks with you, it stays with you. Just some people don't let it ruin them, and others seem to, it ruins them for life. But I don't think it's ruined me for life, but I'm definitely damaged goods. But we need to get better about helping folks deal with their trauma, because a lot of times we shoot our wounded, or we wound them farther, or we kill them, or whatever, and that is not good. That is extremely bad. So then they end up on the streets or in institutions. Yeah, that's what happens to them. So, and they end up mentally ill and all sorts of ungodly things. And not all of them are evil, nasty, trifling people. They're just people trying to move on with their life, move past their trauma and their hurts. And it was so real today. And I couldn't, I wept, and I felt, and I was alone, but I felt guilty and ashamed for crying. And then, unfortunately, I ordered some food, and I was a little rude to her because I was still in my head and stuff, and I didn't think before I spoke. And, you know, it was a day, it was a day, it was a day. That's all I can say. And I can say, if you are a teacher or social service or any of those people, you have power. Don't abuse your power, because the little people in your lives, they look up to you. Don't abuse your power. Don't talk down to them. Don't treat them badly, because what you tell them and what you show them, they believe you. Because a lot of the lies, I believe, not all of them, but most of them I did. And some of them I'm still struggling with today, and I know they're lies, and I still struggle. Don't abuse your power. And if you're prone to abuse your power, then don't teach, and don't be in social service, and don't be in places of power if you're prone to be abusive with your power, and neglectful with your power, and careless with your power. Because a whole lot of people either suspected or knew we were getting abused, and they done nothing. Not the Bedford school system, not the social services, and I'm not the only one. There's plenty of stories of plenty of people, children and stuff that fell through the cracks. We're not the only family, and it's still happening today, unfortunately. Just Bedford City, Bedford County, they don't do good with that kind of stuff. When people are getting abused, when people are mentally ill and stuff like that, they don't have a lot of resources to help with that. They don't have a lot of they don't have a lot of resources, number one. And then the resources that they have, a lot of them are not good resources. Some of them are, but the good resources are few and far between, and it's hard to get to those resources. And especially if you're poor, or you're poor in Black, or you're poor in Latino, or you're poor in Mexican, you're poor in Jewish. So, because a lot of the good resources go to the white people, let's be real, especially in this area. So, yeah, all of those who are suffering like me, don't give up. There is light at the end of the tunnel. But there are some things that you may have to deal with and accept. Like I have accepted that I probably will never be unconditionally loved or liked. I will be loved and liked, but that it is going to come with conditions. I have been unconditionally loved and liked, but those ladies are in the grave now. So I have experienced it. Thank you, Jesus. Because some never experience it. I have also accepted some people are going to hate me for the rest of my days. They just are. You do have to accept that not everybody's willing to help you, and that you going to have to do a lot of advocating and fighting for yourself, a whole lot, and you're going to have to be very large and in charge. I have accepted that. Yeah, and your prayers need to be faith-based, but they also need to be based in reality. They also need to be realistic, and a lot of my prayers to Jesus, who I believe is my higher power and is the ultimate higher power. He is the higher power. He is God. Those prayers haven't been realistic. Some of them sometimes they're not even in faith. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. Sometimes they're realistic, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're not based in reality. They're very fanciful. Yeah, all of that. It's just been a really, really long day because I cried and cried and cried, and then I was getting ready to cry again after the McDonald's incident because, of course, they pointed out, not directly to me, but indirectly, that I was being rude. And it's just that I had been crying and I was in my head and I didn't think. And so, and then after that experience, I was about to cry again, but I stopped myself. It's just been a long day. But for all of you, yeah, don't give up. There's light at the end of the tunnel. There is a way out. Keep going, keep moving. Yeah, that. Bye.